Hi everyone, this is Makiri Tagalongan, your reporter for today's video. And this topic is entitled Multicultural International Literature. And this is part 2, Historical Overview of Multicultural Literature. Members of many microcultures living in the United States were long ignored as subject for children's books. On a few occasions that representatives of these groups did appear, they did so as crudely stereotyped characters, objects of ridicule, or shadowy secondary characters. Helen Banner Mann's The Story of Little Black Sambo, 1900, Claire Bishop's The Five Chinese Brothers, 1838, Sars Gunn Bryant's Epaminondas and His Auntie, 1907, and Hugh Lofting's The Voyages of Dr. Dolittle, 1922, come under this category. Today, books such as this either have been rewritten to eliminate the racism or have disappeared from children's library shelves. Although many of the Newbery Medal winners and honor books of the 1920s and 1930s were set in foreign countries, almost none had to do with multicultural groups in the United States. Laura Adams. Armour's novel about Native Americans, Waterless Mountain, the Newbery Medal winner in 1932, was the only exception. The 1940s offered little improvement, although Florence Cranell Means wrote sympathetic and informative novels such as The Moved Outers, 1945, about American ethnic microcultures during the 1930s and 1940s. Negative stereotypes, such as those of Native Americans as savage projects, medal winners, Daniel Boone by James Doherty, 1939, and The Matchlock Gun by Walter D. Edmonds, 1941, were more prevalent by far. A more sympathetic attitude toward American microcultures, at least in literature, emerged in the 1950s, as evidenced by the positive treatment of multicultural characters in such Newbery Medal winners as Amos Fortune, Free Men by Elizabeth Yaris, 1950, and Now Miguel by Joseph Krumgold, 1953. The civil rights movement on the 1960s focused attention on the social inequities and racial injustices that prevailed in the United States. The spirit of the times resulted in the two landmark publications. The first of these was The Snowy Day by Ezra Jack Keats, 1962, the first Caldecott Medal-winning book to have an African-American protagonist. The second publication was a powerful article by Nancy Larick entitled The All-White World of Children's Books. In this article, which appeared in the September 11, 1965 issue of Saturday Review, Larick reported that in nearly all 11S children's books, the African American either was committed entirely or was scarcely mentioned. P63, American Trade Book Publishers, the education system, and the public library system were called upon to fill this void. In 1969, the Coretta Scott King Award was established to recognize distinguished writing in children's books by African American authors. Also, several books with multicultural protagonista or themes were chosen as Newbery winners. In the early 1970s, Sounder by William H. Armstrong won in 1970. Julie of the Wolves by Jean Craighead George won in 1973. And The Slave Dancer by Paula Fox won in 1974, judging from this record. The establishment had accepted multicultural protagonists in award-winning books. But it was not until 1975 that an author of color, Virginia Hamilton, author of M.C. Higgins the Great, won a Newbery Medal. Types of multicultural literature. Although the last several decades have seen positive changes in the status of multicultural literature in the United States, there is still a marked shortage of books of these and musicultural and authors and illustrators of children's books are also in short supply. In 1997, for instance, 88 of the approximately 4,500 children's books published in the United States, African American literature. Of all multicultural groups living in the United States, African Americans have produced the largest and most rapidly growing body of children's literature. Every genre is well represented in African literature, but none better than poetry, because it is so personal. Poetry portrays a culture well, as is evidenced in the sensitive yet powerful work of Poeta Ahmed Adol.